So we're into double digits. This is week 10 of 12 boots in 12 weeks. Here's my report for week 10. How you going? Welcome to Bootlosophy, my channel that reviews boots. And my name is Tech if we haven't met before. I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which I'm filming here in this segment, the Wajik people of Noongar Boodja. Now, this is week 10 of my 12 boots in 12 weeks challenge. And if you have no idea what that is, go across to my channel, click on the playlist, 12 boots in 12 weeks, and it'll take you through the introduction and then the last 9 weeks, and then this one will be on it as report number 10 for the 10th week. And I'll also put a link to the introductory video as well. This is going to be a cut around kind of week because I spent the first part of the week, it is Thursday night at the moment, here in Perth, and then I'll be flying off to Adelaide later tonight, so I'm just grabbing these quick few minutes to record the first half of this video. I'm flying to Adelaide tonight, and then tomorrow on Friday, I'm going to be going out to the APY lands, which is in the north of South Australia. It's sort of in the intersection between the borders of the Northern Territory, South Australia and Western Australia. I won't be able to do any filming there because they're culturally secluded lands. So I'll be doing some of my regular, off Bootlosophy work as a management consultant. But then I'm coming back to Adelaide on Saturday morning, and my wife will meet me there, and we're going to have a long weekend because it's a public holiday for us in Western Australia on Monday. So I'll finish up the report when I'm actually in Adelaide. Let's start with the boots I wore this week. The first boot is this Woottens Smith work boot. This is rapidly becoming one of my favorite pull-on, pull-off boots for when I'm at home. Very casual. I've been wearing this basically every evening as I wander around the house, maybe as I go out to go to the shops or whatever. But last Saturday and Sunday, I wore these all day because we were pretty busy at home, outdoors. We had some wasps that we had to get rid of, but also just doing a lot of chores around on Saturday. And then on Sunday, my wife and I went out just basically to go to town and do some shopping at some department stores. So this became very handy. Comfort-wise, the fit of it is really beautifully comfortable. The sole construction, which is, let me remind you, is a rapid Blake stitch or McKay stitch, is very, very comfortable because it's just not a very heavy boot in the sense of having all the Goodyear welting and so on. And just to remind you, a rapid Blake or McKay stitch boot is where the uppers and the insole are stitched to a midsole, which is slightly wider than the boot, so it looks like a welt. But what they then do is they put on a rubber outsole and then they stitch the midsole as if it were a welt through to the outsole, therefore providing the water resistance. Very comfortable boot. I am still, I think, kind of wishing that this collar was a little bit higher, the throat, and particularly the rubber, I think. This wide gap, I think, is useful as a work boot, as you saw last week, where you might be sort of wandering around bending your feet. But otherwise, it fits really nicely across the instep and in the heel, which is exactly what you want in a Chelsea boot. So that was a boot that I wore on and off all week. The second boot I wore, not forgetting that really I was only at home Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and today, Thursday. The second boot I wore for 2 days of those 4 days at work is this R.M. Williams Chestnut Comfort Craftsman. I wore it for a whole week in Darwin, and this week I wore it for 2 days at work. Again, supremely comfortable. There is no midsole, so it's a lighter boot than American boots. And what happens is you have a Goodyear welted uppers onto a basically what's a rubber outsole, straight onto it, no midsole. In this version, it changes from year to year, but in this version, there is a cork filling that fills the cavity that's caused by the Goodyear welt. Sometimes it's foam, but I know that in this particular year they used cork. It's bearing up really well. You can see I hope you can see in this light, because I'm just using indoor light because of the night time. You can see that the rolls are really coming along very nicely. So in terms of wear, it's really looking really nice and relaxed, and the leather is becoming just more and more supple. I haven't conditioned it much lately, and I think it's about due for a conditioning when I get home from Adelaide. I haven't got time tonight. In terms of patina, though, it's really the rolls and creases. This is yearling leather, from a bovine yearling leather, so it's a cow that's 12 months or less old. In terms of patina, there's not a real color variation happening. In my earlier Comfort Craftsman in the Chestnut, which I'm selling at the moment, so just check my website if you're interested, that was made of calf leather, and that actually patinaed very differently from this. It wasn't as soft and supple as this. It was supple enough, but it was definitely had a thicker coating because of the fibers of the grown cow. And therefore, I think because of the dyes on that sort of leather, the patina and color variations show it much more. What I like about this boot is the variety of outfits you can wear it with. Some people in Australia would wear this with a suit. I mean, I would. Perhaps a light grey suit or maybe a dark grey suit, but I don't think you'd wear it with navy. I'd probably go black with the navy. But one of the popular outfits in Australian boardrooms now is where you might wear these with a pair of jeans, but perhaps with a dressy work shirt, or a dressy shirt in a work shirt color, like a khaki or something, and then a blazer. It's kind of like, I'm a billionaire board director, but I'm dressing down to be in touch with my people, that sort of thing. But you can also kind of be truly business casual, because you can wear it, I think, with a dark blazer and chino pants, and with a white shirt. You can put on a tie, and that would be much more acceptable in business circles, perhaps when you go into a business meeting, much like, say, a farmer actually going to see his bank manager. Really versatile boot. The next boot that I wore in the preceding 4 days, I wore this twice, the R.M. Williams twice and this twice. This is the BlkBrd Rudiger in Horween Shell Cordovan. Now, if you've been following the series, you've been seeing me wear this to the office. I'm beginning to really love this more and more. I didn't think I'd like the very shiny looking shell, because I thought it might be hard to take care of, and I thought it might be a bit stiff, but it's really starting to wear in very nicely. It is breaking in. I wouldn't say it's broken in yet. There's still a bit of work to be done around the collar, because I'm finding it quite stiff around my ankle. Everywhere else is fine. The last really fits my feet. The grip on these proprietary studded soles, very similar to Day Night, is really good. But not just that. I don't know whether it's psychological, but the compound, I think, is a bit softer than Day Night, so it's a really good shock-absorbing outsole. It is a stitch-down construction, so that's different from the R.M. Williams. And in fact, these three boots have totally different construction methods. It's a double row stitch down, as you can see. The uppers are flared out, stitched to the midsole, and then a second stitch goes through to the outsole after that's been put on. So in effect, it's very waterproof. Haven't met water this week, but I know I have in previous weeks, and it's just wiped off very, very nicely. There's a certain luster that's beginning to come out of this. There was a lot of blooming initially when the wax sort of came to the surface of the creases. Took a lot of brushing. I think most of it is now gone. It's not blooming as much now until perhaps I condition it next. But as you can see, the rolls have developed very, very nicely. The outside quarter panel there is starting to roll very nicely. And it's a really lovely boot to wear with a suit, definitely, but also all kinds of business casual. For example, you can still put on a camel-colored blazer, a white shirt, and then very dressy dark charcoal wool pants. And this just sets it off really beautifully. So there you go. That's what I wore in Perth this week. As I say, I'm flying off to Adelaide tonight, going off to do my job on Friday, and then I'll be back and giving you a report on Saturday of how I wore those boots. And I'm not going to tell you, you have to watch this segment. And by the magic of YouTube, welcome to Gunner Country here in Adelaide. Friday was amazing, quite a long trip, flying over to the APY lands and back, and then ending up here in Adelaide. And today is really quite a sunny Saturday afternoon. So this is the afternoon of the Saturday, and I've been wearing these Friday and Saturday, and I'll wear them across the weekend for my next report, being, the early part Sunday and Monday. The Blundstone 1306 in their distressed brown leather. Very comfortable boot, clearly not resolable because it's not a cement construction, but it's a heat sealed construction where the sole is actually sealed in by heat during construction. It's actually molded in as part of the process. Not sure you can see in this light. It's my hotel room light. But the distressed brown leather is starting to scuff a little bit. Got extremely dirty, and I had to wash it down under the tap, dry it off, muddy, dusty. But obviously it's seen some wear just in the last few days, being out in the scrubby areas. So now in Adelaide, we spent the day in Adelaide. We're going to spend the weekend here. And Adelaide's fantastic because of the museums. We went to the State Library, which is just amazing with its display of old books and so on in some of its rooms. Really great cultural city to walk around in. So let's look at the Blundstone 1306s. A fairly new boot to me, despite the 12 Boots in 12 Weeks series. I only got it a couple of months before I started the series, I think. Not worn it a lot. I usually wear it sort of for short spells in and around the house and maybe on short trips to the supermarket or whatever. So it hasn't really worn in, but it's beginning to now, and you can see, I think, some of the creases and the bends and the folds and some of the scuffs that it's picked up in the last few days. The sole is hardly worn. Very grippy sole, really comfortable TPU, PU sole, very soft and very comfortable for shock absorption. The leather is, I think, not the best. It's quite a firm leather. And a lot of people talk about breaking in Blundstones, which I wouldn't believe because it's such a light boot with no Goodyear welt or anything, so it makes it quite easy to bend. But where the breaking in is, I think, is in the actual leather. It's quite a stiff leather. It's not the best. It's a good leather, but not the best. And where I do find it needs breaking in is this back part here, which is still so stiff that it digs into my ankle. And if you've seen the last few weeks where I talk about the Woottens boot with quite a wide collar, I can see why that is. And Jess would tell me that indeed what it allows is for this part of the boot, the collar, to really be wide enough so that when you're kneeling, for example, if your ankle's out that way, that it doesn't dig into the Achilles tendon. But having said that, the rest of the boot is breaking in quite nicely. It's showing its folds and rolls and creases really nicely. So there you are. That was the last boot I had this week. What do I think so far in my 12 Boots in 12 Weeks personal challenge? And I'll sum this up in the last video. You really have to be mindful of the type of boots that you choose if you're only having a small collection like 10 or 12 pairs of boots. You really want to be mindful about your lifestyle. And I'll talk more about this in the summary, but I'm beginning to see that in my current lifestyle, where I'm not really going out on as many hikes with my wife, every Sunday and so on, in some of our parks near us, that I've picked up too many outdoorsy boots and not enough smart casually boots, which is a lot of my lifestyle at the moment. Later on, that might be different when I'm doing other things, but at the moment I'm going to the office 5 days a week. And I chose 2 pairs of formal-ish dressy shoes, and not enough smart casuals. A lot of my choice was based on some boots that I hadn't worn for a while, and mainly boots that I needed to break in. Not a good series of decision-making choices to make if you wanted to restrict yourself to only 12 pairs of boots or thereabouts. All right, so there you are. That's the end of this week's report. Stay tuned. Go to my channel. Check out the playlist 12 Boots in 12 Weeks. And take care out there, and I'll see you again next week.